It is Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network, and we have a very special guest. The one and only, the great Mike Yam. He is a host on NBA TV, NFL Network. He's worked at ESPN, Pac-12 Network. He's hosted fantasy shows. And Mike and I are dear friends, and we go way back. Welcome to our studios, man.
I get a text message. You tell me you're in Los Angeles. You're like, can you stop by the show? Of course, I could stop by. It is awesome to see you, man. I was thinking about it because you go down memory lane. You mentioned NBA TV. That's where we used to hang back in the day, doing a ton of fantasy shows. First of all, I got to say this. We have aged well. This is like 20 something.
You look great, my friend.
I'm trying. Get a little salt, trying to kick some of that stuff. But the reality is, man, it's awesome to see you in person.
Indeed. No need for hair color, man. Let it go, man. Let it go. Okay, so hugely busy time for you. You had the Super Bowl last week. Now we got All-Star Weekend coming up. And so you've worked both of these gigs. So just talk about how hectic that is, how awesome that hecticness is, and what your assignments have been and what they will be this weekend.
It's been pretty wild, man, to be honest with you, because, obviously NFL Network, you're in the throes of the football season. You're doing the Monday night shows. I was doing a ton of stuff on Sundays during the course of the week, a lot of our shoulder programming. So you're inundated with it. But as you know, in this business, you get some opportunities. You generally don't say no, especially when you feel like they're really good ones. And I've been so fortunate. I mean, you and I were going down memory lane a little bit earlier. I was like, oh my God, I was a child when I was hired at NBA TV. I mean, early 20s. I think I was like 23 or so. It is just like things like that aren't necessarily supposed to happen. But, got an opportunity this season. At the time, I was doing college football for the CW in studio as well. So I did the entire season doing both that and the NFL. So, you finish up on a college football Saturday, and next thing you know, you're on a flight trying to get back for the pregame show on Sunday morning. So generally speaking, it's been awesome. And then when the NBA opportunity popped up, I'm like, are you kidding me? I get to go back home? Because in a lot of ways, this, that first TV job, wherever it is, and if you're there for an extended period of time, it always feels like, A, the nostalgia is there, but B, there is a sense of home. Not to mention, it was also not far from where I grew up. So it's been nice to go down memory lane for sure, but man, it's been a blast. It's just juggling the amount of games and inventory. Last night, I was doing a show on NBA TV, and I'm embarrassed to admit this because you know me well enough to know if I make a mistake, man, I still think about it.
We all are.
100%. And we finished up the show. I think we were talking about Isaiah Stewart and obviously the little fisticuffs, and obviously the suspension came down today. But at that point, I'd said something to the effect of toughest guy we have in the NFL. And
because of you're doing so many sports.
So sometimes to keep it. And by the way, to be fair, Isaiah probably could play in the NFL. He does have the demeanor, the stature, and the whole thing, and the
ring,
100% to go down that path. But the point is, sometimes it just gets overloaded in your brain.
So Mike Tirico told me one time it was one of those post-finals. The ABC, ESPN people, the Turner people, all in the hotel, a really good hang, and Tirico's there, and I got a chance to talk to him a little bit, and I've been friendly with Mike over the years. I love that man for a variety of reasons, but I asked him because he had just done, I think, the World Cup or something, and I'm like,
oh my God,
how, dude, how? And so I asked him, I'm like, you do this, you do that. I saw you doing the World Cup. You do golf, how do you keep it all straight? And he said, he kind of touched my arm and he goes, Rick, it's real simple. It's sports. It's not brain surgery. And I never forgot that. We're not building rocket ships.
Totally.
We're not pulling a mass out of a brain. You know what I'm saying? We are covering sports. So shout out to Mike Tirico, by the way. Number one takeaway from the Super Bowl.
Oh my God. Defense can win championships, that old adage. When you're 23, there's only so many phenoms, and I think Drake May is in that category. But at times, he looked like a 23-year quarterback, at least in the Super Bowl. And look, I'd also point to the fact that Seattle they're a juggernaut. They were the most complete team in the NFL. I felt like the NFC Championship with the Rams was, in a lot of ways, like the quasi-Super Bowl. I felt like the Rams were the best team, to be honest with you, as the season went on.
I did, too. I thought they were going to win it all.
I thought they were the team to beat. And, I can't help but think, and this is, the margins in sports are so small. If Los Angeles is able to get one of the 2-point conversion stops in the matchup in Seattle during the season, maybe they're a 1 seed. And what does that path look like for Seattle if they're not a 1 seed? So, there's just so many differences, but the reality is they didn't get those stops. Seattle was the dominant team. They got those wins, and they earned the right to be the 1 seed in the NFC. But, you know what it reminds me of? I was talking about this, and you can appreciate this because this is going back to the days when we were working together. Early, 2003, 2004 Pistons squad. Like, tell me who the superstar was on that team. Like, that was a collection of just really good players, right? I mean,
I love that analogy. I do.
And I thought Seattle, in a lot of ways, was like this. And because, look, they have a star in JSN. Like, you can make an argument Jackson Smith and Jigba's best wide receiver in the NFL. There's a case to be made for that. But tell me outside of JSN, like, who's the superstar? Like, I don't know where I would point to. Like,
and he's not a superstar yet. Like, he's in no commercials. He'll get commercials now.
Oh, no question. But think about this. If Seattle and their roster, if the Seahawks were the New York Seahawks.
Good point.
We're having a very different conversation right now. I got a lot of friends.
Sam Darnold's already in the Ring of Honor and all this
100%.
stuff.
Like, it's a different calculus because of the East Coast bias, which is real. I experienced it.
It's large.
When I lived on the East Coast, I was like, oh, stop your whining and complaining. Then I moved west and I realized I was like, oh, no, it's actually a thing. And I think the people, like, if you hop on shows, and I'm sure you do too, Seattle Talk Radio, they would ask, like, hey, are we just not getting respect? Like, damn right you're not getting respect during the course of the season. They deserved it, they earned it, and it wasn't coming their way. And I think part of that had to do with the time zone, which is unfortunate. But at the end of the season, they got the Lombardi trophies. That's the only thing that matters.
The reason that I thought the Rams, and I actually thought the Patriots were going to win the Super Bowl was Sam Darnold. Kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Totally. He's had some struggles in big games. And I say this about James Harden all the time. I am here for your breakthrough in the playoffs. I'm here for it. I've got a bouquet of flowers. I'm ready to throw them at you. But you got to go do that. Yeah. And Sam Darnold did that. Yeah. And I think that's super cool because he did have clutch issues. Not like Tony Romo or Carson Palmer, but he did have clutch issues to get over, and he did. I want to get your perspective on the coaching strategy of Mike Vrabel and or Josh McDaniels.
Sure.
A lot's been said about it. I've said a lot about it, but I don't want to lead the witness here. What just overall, what's your take on that?
Okay, so number one, I would say remarkable job. It's hard to argue for Mike Vrabel not to be coach of the year. I mean,
totally agree.
There's a remarkable job that he did with this roster. I think Josh has now shown that he is one of the premier offensive coordinators in the NFL. And say what you want, and I'm not suggesting that Josh can't be an NFL coach at some point, but the case study is here where we've seen the evidence. This dude is a stud when he's an OC, a stud when he's around young quarterbacks. And yet, for whatever reason, and it might be roster construction, whatever excuse you want to make, it just hasn't worked out for him as a head coach. And that's okay. But I look at a 23-year-old Drake May who's had that much success. The one storyline, Rick, that I don't think, we've talked about it a few times on a lot of the shows that we've done at NFL Network, but I don't think it gets highlighted nearly enough. This was an organization that spent over $300 million in the offseason. So I think in some ways, and I started by saying, Vrabel deserves the credit. He should be coach of the year. But at the same time, I would go, that roster's a whole lot different. For the people who say, well, look at what they were a year ago and look at what they are now, all good. What I would challenge those fans to do is look side by side at those rosters, and there's some significant upgrades. So I give a lot of credit to the front office, too, for executing. You spend that much money, and you hit the way that they did. Because it's one thing to deploy some of the cash. It's another thing to make sure that those guys are a perfect fit, and they were for this team. So kudos across the board. I think it goes beyond just the coaching staff who deserves credit. I think the organization as a whole deserves a whole lot of love.
Mike Yam is with us, fellas and ladies, here on the X-Rated Sports Network. Our show is Beyond the Surface. We have Mike Yam with us. We're excited about that. Let's talk a little NBA.
Yeah.
I think the tanking crisis / epidemic is at an all-time high. You had the Utah stunt against Orlando. Washington's trying to curb Davis and Trey, and I feel like the league reached out, and that's why we got that sort of counter from Will Dawkins, their GM. You had the Lakers basically with the line change, forfeiture of a game against the San Antonio Spurs. I saw Draymond Green. He's making it sound like Golden State is sort of separated from that. Steve Kerr does the line change where he rests Curry and Draymond and you know, 5 guys. And so, but anyway, tanking's out of control. We understand that there's a hot draft class coming up. If you were Adam Silver, what would you do to help curb, eliminate the tanking crisis?
So I think we're unfortunately at a place right now where, and let me rewind for a second, because you and I grew up on a brand of NBA basketball where load management was like that doesn't even make sense. And I don't want to sound like the old guy, get the ball off my lawn.
No, I'm preaching. I'm here. I'm listening.
It's different. And you could make the argument, well, Mike, nowadays there's analytics and we know how to, the health of players, we know how to keep them healthy. But I would also make the argument, I'm seeing a ton of soft tissue injuries, not just in the NBA, but also seeing it in a variety of sports. We've dealt with it too on the NFL side of things. So there's that aspect of it. I think the league has tried. Like Adam Silver, I think, has done candidly his best in trying to curtail some of this stuff. We have a lottery. We've had the lottery for a long period of time, and that kind of mitigates some of this stuff. And there's things that are in place, whether it's being eligible for postseason awards, where you're sitting guys down. I think, and I don't know, because you said, what would I do? And I don't know if I would have the cojones to go and do this, but I think the only thing you can do is create a level of metrics on games missed, for example, and say, if you hit this threshold, you don't get the pick that you earn in the lottery. And it's not to say that you won't pick in the first round, but there's a penalty where you drop 2 or 3 spots, 4 or 5 spots. The extreme situation is like, you just don't get a pick. Now, I don't think we'd ever get into that world. I don't know what else, I don't know what the solution is. And to your point, like, I don't know if I could make the call on something like that.
Your idea is very similar to mine. I want the NBA to create a load management police department, and they monitor rest, DNPs, just all that stuff. And because I don't buy. Adam Silver said there's no data to support load management helping players. So here's my idea. The load management police department creates tanking points, like technical foul points that lead up to 16 and you get the suspension. And so if you hit, a tanking point threshold, you probably don't lose your draft pick, but you're going to slide. Okay, so you and ultimately, I think you do have to dangle the carrot of you're going to lose your draft pick. Because fines aren't getting anybody's attention. Cuban was fined $750,000 for the Lively tank. They got the player. He doesn't care about that.
100%.
So you've got to create something that's extremely harsh. The new CBA is extremely harsh. It has curbed the Joe Lakeups and the big spenders, and they can't even do it anymore. So it's worked. And so a really harsh setup has gotten the NBA exactly what it wants. So I think they need a harsh setup with that. Is fighting good for the NBA, Mike Yam?
You should not ask me this question because...
Is it political thin ice?
No, so here's...
If so, I'll retract.
No, but you I'm a Knicks fan. So 90s Knicks, we had dudes. We had guys that you just didn't want to mess with.
Mason, Oakley,
100%.
Ewing,
Like
Peck, Starks,
just enforcers.
What's my guy?
So,
Childs.
Oh my God, Chris out there. Like there was just dudes you just wouldn't mess with. Mm-hmm. And
even the little guys you didn't want to mess with.
100%. You'd see Charlie Ward out there, and you wouldn't mind getting into a little tussle every once in a while as well. I grew up on that. I also grew up on a physical game where you weren't worried necessarily about hand checking. You weren't worried about breathing hard on a guy and hearing a whistle. So I think now look, the sport's evolved, right? Like, and I think style of play is also dramatically different. Spurs had 84 points against the Lakers at halftime. Like, I'm sitting there going, like, in what were like that
You
was
mean
an
the South
entire
Bay
game.
Lakers?
Right? Well, there's that too, right? Without LeBron and Luka and Reeves, DeAndre Ayton didn't play, Marcus Smart didn't play in the game. So you're right, there it was the South Bay Lakers. But so when you ask me, like, is fighting good? Like, intellectually, I would say, no, it's not. But I also understand the competitive nature of a lot of these guys when they're getting after it. And I do, the whole jersey swaps and the dinner, like, once again, this is just not what I grew up with. And it's not to say that this is bad. I'm not suggesting that. But I do wish, we shouldn't get to the point where fights are happening. Like, I would say that. But I would like to see a more physical game out on the floor.
Totally understand. Let's talk some fantasy basketball.
Oh, no.
Let's talk some fantasy basketball. Rick Campbell and Mike Yam on Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network.
On NBA TV, on the fantasy show, like this was, I got to fill in for you when you were doing it. I was thinking about the players because we had a position thing. Like, you helped create the rundown for that show. A lot of those ideas that we implemented were in between your ears, which is also kind of scary, but also explains why they were creative. Larry Legend, I think there was a Magic reference. Stockton was in
Magic Man.
Like, so we ended at the end of the night, we would pick the 5 players, and by the way, by position, because now All-Star... Stockton Stars,
yes,
right?
Yes,
so, and I was thinking about them on the drive over here. I'm like, what were the players that were there? And would the players actually change nowadays based off of, who... We got some new guys that are out there. Which path you would go. But I was laughing in my head because I'm like, those were Kamla's categories. Like, you came up with that stuff.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
LeBron would probably go on for Bird.
Oh, my God. Isn't it wild? I know.
He'd probably replace Bird.
Who was our 5? Because, like, do you have the conversation about Joker?
Pretty sure it was Wilt.
Yeah, that probably makes sense.
But I can't remember. And by the way, I knew but the Stockton Stars just came to me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't go Magic or, Curry hadn't done enough at that point. Heck,
there was no Magic?
Curry wasn't even playing in the NBA at that point.
No, he wasn't.
It was, so the whole thing were the Magic men. And then...
Okay, so there was
that was the umbrella.
Okay.
And then the Stockton Stars. Yeah. And, man, I forget who the power forward was, too.
But Malone, wasn't it? Was it Carl?
I literally can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's been a while. We
Too
need
many concerts, Mike.
I know. We need to, like, dig up some role producers and say, give me those categories again.
I've got a box of VHS tapes. Do they even make VHS machines anymore?
I think you could track one of those down.
Kai, we got to talk about this. Maybe there's some good cut. Oh, he's rolling his eyes. He's not sure about the conversion of VHS to whatever digital platform we're on. All right, so let's enter the time machine. You mentioned it. Thank you for the nights off, by the way. Okay, because I got the fantasy show, and initially, and it was great. They were paying me by the show.
Oh yeah.
And so, over my dead body, am I not coming in to do a show? So I mean, it was every day. I think I went like 35 straight days, like when I first got the job, and then it was like, all right, I need a little blow here. But Mike would fill in and do a phenomenal job. What is your first of all? How long of a time frame was that for you? Filling in for me those early days in Secaucus, and what kind of stands out from that era of our lives?
So much. First of all, this is my first TV job. Okay, I'm coming out of college. I was doing radio at the time, and I got a phone call. I was working on NBA radio on Sirius before it was Sirius XM. It didn't, it was just Sirius Radio, and I get a call. I go to audition. I'd never auditioned before for like an actual job, so I'm still young. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And I go in there, I guess I got lost. So I didn't know how to get to the studio. At that time, like, you printed out MapQuest.
Yes, you did.
So I printed out MapQuest directions.
It's very dicey in New York and New Jersey with the maps.
I'm driving through. I end up in the Meadowlands parking lot because I don't know what else to do. And I got to reset here. I'm on the highway. I'm trying to figure out how to get to the studio. I flagged down a cop. And I said, hey, dude. because you know how I talk. Like I wasn't being disrespectful.
So it was 450 Harmon Meadow Boulevard that you were trying to find. I mean, I can't believe I still remember that address.
Totally. And so
NBA Entertainment Headquarters, that's where it all
still
went
over
down.
there. The cop actually gave me like a little flag. He's like, dude. And I was like, oh my God, like you gotta be kidding me, man.
Northeast swagger, man.
Seriously. So anyway, I get to the studio, I audition, fast forward, I get the opportunity. But a ton of things that I remember. Number one, they let us take live phone calls on that show.
I don't know what they were thinking.
And the show was, we hit like 11:30 p.m. Eastern.
No, it was later than that.
Was it 1?
Yeah,
that's right.
It was either 12:30 or 1. We tried to get all of the games
in.
and then come up.
Totally.
Some of the real late West Coast games would bleed over a little bit, but yeah, I think it was 1 o'clock.
So in what world do you think it's okay on live television to take calls at basically 12:30 Eastern time? Not a great idea. I remember the prank phone calls.
That was my next question. Okay, so go ahead.
The fake trades that were thrown out there, that were attached to some of those pranks out there. I do remember watching back my first show, because you might not remember this. Or you probably would. The desk that we used, we were told it was like first of all, I'm 5'8", so I'm not a big dude to begin with. But they had us in these like really high director's chairs, essentially.
Yep.
And your legs weren't behind a desk. So I was so nervous on the first show. My leg in the director's chair is like just doing this the whole time.
Do you have restless leg syndrome like me?
I don't, but you would have thought I did in that moment. And I remember watching it back the first show, and I'm like, they're never going to let me do a show again. I totally messed this up. But sure enough, obviously they brought me back.
Way too hard on
But you start to think about like the little things. So honestly, the prank calls were amazing. They were truly amazing.
Noah Kozlov is also in that rotation.
Yes.
Shout out to Noah, and he got a prank call. I think one.
I just talked to Noah, by the way.
That's so cool. I gotta reach out to Noah. Great guy. You got a prank call and it was the talk of the town for a minute, and Noah got a prank call and it was the talk of the town for a minute. I was sort of like emerging unscathed, and I wasn't like ha ha ha, but I was like. I knew one of these nights.
Oh, it's coming.
One of these, probably buzzed up mofos is going to, take me to Prankville, and it happened. And it's one of those things like you kind of sort of think it's funny as hell, but at the same time you're like, all right, hey, get this guy out of here.
You can't encourage it because
you definitely can't encourage it.
You can't because you're asking for more. But think about what they were asking us to do. Like we would get a phone call at 11:30, or midnight, 12:30 in the morning. And they'd list, like I don't know how you did it. I had to write down the names because sometimes it would be, this is not the real world, right? It was Fantasyland where they would propose like 9-player
deals.
So
complicated. Yeah, no, I would
write it down.
Pen and I'd write it down,
and then what did you have? Like 5 seconds to assess it
it's
and
like
go,
it's like hitting a fastball in Major League Baseball.
Totally.
You just got to pick a side.
Well, the guy who...
and you hope that it's obvious, but a lot, like you said, 9-player trade, 5 for 4. And you have 1 second to
Totally. And honestly, like maybe you got a question in there and be like, hey, like what category are you like slacking in, or like, can you make up the difference here? But if you asked
that question, then they went on for a minute about their league, right?
And it's a 30-minute show, and then you start going.
Yeah, I did that one time. I'm like, I'm not asking that question.
That's like the beauty of and you know this because you've done talk radio forever too. Like sometimes like getting into the back and forth dialogue, like not the greatest like listening experience. And can you imagine like on TV, like you just had to give those answers. And I don't know, I felt like I don't know, me, Noah, like I felt like we did a good job with a lot of those trades.
Mike, the feedback that I've gotten from just dozens, hundreds, I don't know what the number is, but since the early 2000s to now, I still meet hoop heads.
Yeah.
Jason remembers the fantasy show, okay? Like, Kai's too young, but Jason remembers the fantasy show. But so many people play fantasy basketball, and it is like a part of their life and lifestyle because of us. And Adam Silver, Paul Hersheimer, Brian Myers, Saul Steinberg, Steve Herbst.
Oh my God.
I mean, think about it. It's the first live fantasy sports show in the history of the world. And we were doing it.
It's pretty wild, man. I never even thought about it in that context. What's the weirdest Because you said you've had like people come up to you and like recognize you.
Yeah, and they just say, man, thank you so much for, I watched you every night. I was up in my dorm room, or like I was a young fella, like getting home from the yard playing hoops, and I popped you on. And James Worthy told me one time, one of the best compliments I ever got.
James Worthy was watching?
So I'm out in LA. It's some kind of anniversary thing, some kind of big deal for the Lakers. It was a Lakers-Suns game. And I was out there. I think they were honoring Kareem. I can't really remember. But James Worthy, I was just kind of milling around the lower bowl, but kind of by the tunnel. And James Worthy came over and James, nice to meet you. I mean, I grew up a Showtime Laker fan. I love James Worthy. The Statue of Liberty dunk, stop it, dude. The drop step baseline, come on, man. James, you're the man, dude. So, he's like, very nice to meet you. And he goes, he said, I want to tell you something. If I was out or traveling and I couldn't watch the NBA the night before, I just pop on your show and I'm fully like caught up and fully abreast. And I was like, thank you, James.
Serious, right?
How dope is that?
Unbelievable.
And that was the fantasy show. He wasn't watching Game Time or whatever. I forget what we called it back then. He was watching the fantasy show, James Worthy.
It's crazy. By the way, on the fantasy note, last thing here, the big ticket. That was one of the...
Because of my guy. Thank you for that, the big ticket.
It just popped into my head. So
I'm going to be thinking about... and I think it was the Jordan of the night.
Which makes sense. I mean, how do you not have?
I'm pretty sure I got.
It was Stockton, MJ. Well, they'll all.
I got to figure out the center. I got to figure out. You know what? Yeah. Noah might know.
I should send him a text right now. I guarantee
Noah might know.
He's got an unbelievable memory.
So where do I want to go here? Okay, so you've kept the fantasy beat going. Okay, you're a big time anchor and. That's where the money is. But so you did ESPN's Fantasy Focused Basketball podcast with Keith Lipscomb. So the question is, I looked on Wikipedia and got some goodies on you here. Extraordinary career, by the way. I was joking with him off the air. I won't go there. I won't go there. I'll play nice for political reasons. It was just a joke off the air. But you've kept the fantasy beat going. Do you still play fantasy basketball?
So here's what had happened. When I left ESPN, I got to Pac-12 Network. And I'll never forget this. We had launched the network, and the network was launching on a Wednesday. I did SportsCenter on a Saturday, left the meeting to go watch my car go onto the back of a truck that was going cross country, flew out on Sunday. Monday I was in HR, and they pulled me out of the HR meetings to start doing rehearsals for the Wednesday launch. The one takeaway that I got was you're not allowed to play fantasy. Whoa. So it was a rule. So I stopped playing fantasy.
They literally told you that. That was one of the rules of engagement for the job.
No one was allowed to play fantasy sports. So I stopped playing for about 10 years or so, and then when I got to NFL Network, I was like, oh, the door's open again to play a little fantasy. So I've been playing NFL fantasy. I have not done daily NBA, though.
Understood.
That would be between watching, although I guess I watch so many damn games at this point, like, why not? Just jump into like a random public league and just see what happens. I do miss that.
Yeah, so I play in less public leagues than I used to.
What was your peak? How many leagues did you play? Like when we were rolling.
That's a good question. Peak 15 footballs.
Oh my God.
And probably 12 basketballs and probably 13 baseballs.
Oh my God. That's like psychotic, dude.
It is. It most definitely is. I've trimmed it way back. Like we've talked, I've kind of been getting into acting and music and stuff like that. So I've got another hobby that's kind of Pac-Manning, that hobby.
Totally.
But no, I still do it. I'm in 7 fantasy basketball leagues this year. I was in like 5 or 6 footballs, and like baseball's coming up, and I'm thinking about taking the year off from fantasy baseball.
You're not going to be able to.
I don't think I'm going to be able to. But I'm in 4 dynasty leagues. They're on Yahoo. And so, like, my teams are badass, dude. So I think I'm going to come back with just those 4 teams and and not do any cash leagues or any public leagues. Because for you to just dive in and do one public league just to get your toe back in the water, I think it's a great idea. But it started becoming minutia. Like, there's no money on this, so it's just time I'm pissing away kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I've tried to get more quality than quantity.
Your low end amount of leagues, by the way, is like what I was at my peak. I just want to throw that out there right now.
I've worked at fantasy sports radio on Sirius XM, and I've just had all these. I was at Sports Ethos. I worked at RotoWire. And so I've talked a lot of. I'm telling you right now, there are football guys that are in like 75 leagues. 15 is absolutely psychopathically insane. And these guys are in 73 leagues. And a lot of them are like the FOB League, which is really complicated with waivers and money, and you got to really put a lot of time into it. I don't want to do that.
No.
Every day you got to like set your lineups and stuff. I want that to last about 10, 15 minutes. And then I'm on to, the important stuff. All right, let's jump into the barbershop. Rick Kamla, the great Mike Yam. We are hanging out here on Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. Let's go to the barbershop.
Okay.
I think we both have great hair. I really do. Who are your broadcast heroes coming up?
Wow. Like when I was younger and
like you're a kid and maybe doing play-by-play in your room or something like I did.
Okay.
My mom and brother thought I was nuts.
Yeah. All right. So my path very, very different than most of our colleagues and friends in this business. So you just said it.
But you are a Fordham kid, so you got that.
But you were a kid doing play-by-play, right?
In my bedroom, turned down, Bob Costas and stuff, and I was in there doing it.
So I would say that. Let me just rewind for a second. Number one, you were just talking about all the fantasy leagues. As you were talking, I thought to myself, like, how lucky are we? You literally. You were getting paid. You mentioned all the different networks that you worked at, all the different websites. Like, we've gotten paid. Our jobs and careers have been about talking about sports, which is just wild to me to begin with, which feeds into your question about being young and the inspiration that you had. I would say about 95% of the people that I've worked with in this business were exactly telling the same story that you just told, which was I was in the room, lowering the volume and I was calling the game. I had no idea. I had no clue. I was such a late bloomer in the business. Growing up, so I wanted to be a pediatrician. My entire when I was a kid, that was what my goal was. I got to Fordham. When I was in high school, I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, and I remember there was our priest in our high school had just randomly, we were at an event, and he said, "Mike, you have a really good voice. Have you ever thought about broadcasting?" And I was like, I have a good voice. I had no idea.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I still, to this day, I listen back to some of my stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I can't hear my own voice. But the point was, it sort of planted a little bit of a seed. And then I remember thinking to myself, if I go to medical school, I'll become a doctor. I could be a doctor on the news, kind of giving advice. So there was at least a thought that maybe there was something in broadcast, but certainly not sports.
Yeah.
I played all the sports. I loved it. I would go to the game. The whole thing. I was a huge fan. But it never occurred to me that I could actually be a sportscaster. And then it wasn't until you mentioned I went to Fordham and I was in my dorm. It was the first time I had cable television, because that's the other thing. We didn't have cable in my place growing up. My parents didn't have it. I saw Michael Kim on ESPN. And I was like, yo, that's an Asian dude on TV doing sports. And it...
With good chops, too.
It just... The whole thing flipped for me.
That's so cool,
whole thing flipped for me. That and not great grades as a pre-med student at Fordham. I went to the radio station. I signed up. I joined. And I fell in love with it. And then, as you know, it's getting some of those opportunities and hopefully making the most of it.
So Brent Musburger touched me... in a very inspirational way. So I didn't make the high school baseball team, and it was soul crushing. I was still playing football.
Yeah.
But I like baseball better, and I was pretty good at it. But I went to a very affluent high school, very, 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 very competitive, and every kid that made the team was a freaking stud. You know how it is. So I didn't make it, but it triggered something and I didn't really think I was going to be an MLB player. But when you play since you're 4 to 16, it's just kind of what you do. And then, poof, it's gone. And so I was like, now what? I want to be Brent Musburger.
Wow.
And 16 years old, I got the epiphany and just started connecting dots from that point on. Doing the play-by-play at home, got an internship at KRE 11, the sports department while in college, worked for the student radio station while in college, was doing play-by-play for all 4 sports. I did hockey.
No way.
I did hockey. I had decent chops. I had decent hockey chops. Incredibly difficult sport.
Oh, for sure.
To do play, but less is more for sure. Yeah. But it's a radio call, so you want to do it. So the balance between less is more, and I can't let it breathe like on a TV call. But like Sean McDonough, Kenny Albert, listening to the Doc Emmerich before he retired.
First guy I thought of when you said hockey.
These guys are ridiculous, man. So for me, Brent Musburger, Bob Costas, Marv, Chick Hearn, huge inspirations.
Sure.
Who are your top 5 play-by-play announcers of all time in no particular order?
Yeah, I can't. We won't do the order. So, well, number one, you mentioned the fact that I went to Fordham. So Scully has got to be on that list. We could all just look. I know no particular order. Let's just slot him in at number 1. Mike Breen, current voice of the NBA, a guy that used to come back, another Fordham guy, would come back, critique our tapes. Phenomenal
guy.
The best. Ian Eagle, who I think now getting way more recognition. There was like years where I thought Ian was the most underrated broadcaster.
Completely agree.
And now everyone's like, yo, Ian's really good. Like, Ian's always been really good. Ian's also probably the funniest person I've ever worked with in my entire life. When I used to do NBA radio with him, I would have to turn off the mic, take off the headset. I would have tears going down my face because he was so damn funny. So Ian's definitely there. You mentioned Marv. I mean, that's like the soundtrack to like my childhood when you think about basketball. Summerall with Matt. I mean, speaking of soundtracks, right, for like the football season, I think, how many is that? It's like 4 or 5.
I think that was 5. But if you have one more, you can fit him under the opening of the door.
Dick Enberg is like, I mean, when you talk about like great broadcasters, smooth as silk, just a guy whose voice you would listen to, even if it wasn't calling a game, he'd just reading something, I'd go and listen to that. So that's definitely a list. I don't know, did I age myself? I felt like I had a couple throwbacks in there.
Oh, I mean, these are, there's no qualification or disclaimer necessary, my friend.
But your Chick Hearn one's a really good one. Like,
he's not on my list of like all top, but for inspiration, because I grew up a Showtime Laker fan. So Chicky, baby, may he rest in peace. Vince Scully. I thought about this earlier. First name, I mean Vince Scully. Totally. Hello, because he did all these sports, but obviously there's never even been anybody who approached him at doing baseball.
No.
Nobody's even. It's like Jerry Rice. Nobody even approached Jerry Rice in greatness at that position.
And his storytelling ability within the context of the game is second to none. No one has ever done it better than him. So, so 1. I think after that it's all debate, but to me he's 1.
Marv Albert, and this is no particular order too. You got to have Marv on there. Greatest basketball announcer of all time. In my personal opinion, Mike Tirico is on my list.
Really good one. Really good one.
If you're in the business like me and Mike, and I don't mean to sound whatever about that, we study the guys and girls who are on TV. I study Maria Taylor and Taylor Rooks and Joe Buck, and still like you analyze, and there's stuff that you notice like, ooh, cringy. Tony Romo makes me cringe 15 times a game, dude. I'm telling you right now. So Mike Tirico. Might be the most versatile play-by-play guy who's ever, done it, or lady. But his versatility is ridiculous. Voice, the high note. Dick Enberg, by the way, his ability to hit the high note. Come on, man.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace. Joe Buck. I'm a huge Joe Buck fan.
Joe is phenomenal. The people who hate on Joe, I have no idea why.
They have no idea what they're talking about.
You're just being negative to be negative.
Exactly.
Because when he does a game, it sounds big.
Come on, man. Brent Musburger, same thing.
Yeah, no,
like
for sure.
When Brent did a game, it sounded. So I got to go 6. I got to go 6 because because my next guy is Ian Eagle.
Yeah.
So Ian and Tirico, to me, I completely agree. They have been I like Ian more than Mike Breen. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I love Mike Breen. The guy, he's a phenomenal play-by-play guy. I like Ian Eagle's personality more, his humor, skits and bits, especially when he's on a Yes broadcast. And he can really kind of let the hair down and, you know, him and Sarah going back and forth when Richard Jefferson was there, like just skits and bits, and they're busting, you know what.
Totally,
and it's just,
totally.
And so Ian brings that probably more than any other play-by-play guy. But I got to have Brent Musburger on this list. You know, he's the inspiration. He's literally
the reason why.
You know, he's literally the reason I'm here talking to you right now. And when you said it just sounds like a big game, that was Brent for me.
Totally.
Especially like a college football
Rose Bowl?
Like,
kidding me?
Exactly. Yeah. But Joe Buck, good for him getting the ESPN job and all that cheddar and all that. But that was a crime against sports humanity that Joe Buck no longer calls the big baseball games.
Yeah.
Like, I miss that enormously, and Joe Davis is really, really good.
Joe's
and he had a phenomenal call on the Miguel Rojas home run when he goes, no way! Because I was in a bar that night saying the same two words. I'm telling you, Mike. I was playing drums that night with a DJ in St. Pete, but the TV was on, you know, of course, so I'm doing both at the same time. And I saw like a big play. I couldn't quite make it out, so I literally pick up my drum like mid-song and walk over, and I'm like, "Who hit that?" They're like, "Rojas." I'm like, "No way!" So Joe Davis, shoot him in. We were all out there saying the same thing.
By the way, you know, it's interesting because we both come up with our lists, and most of it is on the TV side of things. Like, that's generally speaking. Like, Breen, I remember catching Breen, because I was a Knicks fan, listening to him on radio. So you think about that.
I didn't even know he started as the radio guy?
Oh, yeah, he was on the radio broadcast.
Was he behind Marv at that point?
Yeah. And then... Yeah,
did he fill in for Marv, or was he just the radio guy at that point?
No, he was the radio guy at that point, and then there was some stuff that obviously went to. I mean,
yeah.
Google it.
But, we don't.
Yeah. So, but you know, talk about the careers here. So, but it is interesting because you think about that aspect of it. Because if you do radio, like that's another. You know, a lot of times it's a lot of course, there's like national radio broadcasters on the play-by-play side, but generally speaking, radio is a kind of a community thing, and you think about the intimacy within in sort of those local broadcasts, because then I think it's another world. I mean, there's like a bunch of guys that I've heard. I used to have to cut highlights in the NBA, so I listened to all the NBA radio guys. Very, very familiar with all the NFL guys as well. There's a couple voices that are out there that I think are absolutely superb. Fortunate enough to call actually, one of them that I'm thinking of, JB Long, who calls the Rams, I think is one of the best in the entire business. So, and fortunate enough to call him a friend too. But I think he's definitely on that list of current guys that are just ballers.
Have you heard the Ohio State football announcer?
No.
I don't know his name.
Okay.
I think he has the greatest voice of all time.
No kidding.
Oh, dude, you gotta like.
Okay. Yeah.
When you leave, just for a minute.
For
listen
sure.
To, dude, I'm telling you.
You got to be good if you're calling Ohio State football too.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
No, his cadence is perfect, but it's just you can't. It's like the sound of a Tiger Woods driver hitting the ball. Which, by the way, I was at the 2008 U.S. Open, Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
He won that tournament. Did he have a broken leg for that one? I can't remember that. But
I don't remember that.
I was there with Brian Elphis, who was Kawhi Leonard's agent at the time, and he's a big time guy now. Football, he definitely does basketball and football. But B was like, I was in LA covering the finals, and he's like, dude, you got to drive down to San Diego and meet me at the U.S. Open. I'm like, I don't really want to.
Oh, stop.
Golf's not really. And he said, shut up, you're coming, get in your car, and I did. By the way, I dragged him to the Fishbone concert on the beach in San Diego that night. That was an incredible day, and Brian, you were right. And so we followed Phil and Tiger. They were together on the Friday so literally 18 holes with Tiger and Phil. And I got the opportunity to be right. So Tiger's where you are. I mean, the ball's right. I could have spit on the ball easily. And I'm like, there's a million people behind me. How did I get basically in the front row here? Yeah. But dude, he brought that driver back and brought it through, and it made. I can't duplicate the noise, but imagine. Remember in Dumb and Dumber when he said, do you want to hear the worst sound ever? And he goes, or whatever it is. Okay.
The most annoying sound in the world.
So completely change the modulation on that. No, it was it was like a boom, but there was a vibration to it. There was a whoosh to it. It was absolutely insane.
He's, by the way, I mean, first of all, that's on the short list. If you think Tiger and Phil, you were following those dudes 20 years from now.
And they were balling, too.
30 years from now, that's something you don't forget because of just the experience, who they are, how different it sounds. I mean, like, it's almost like they're playing a different sport. Right, like when they hit it off the tee,
there are artists out there, man.
It's like there are certain things that look and sound different when the pros do it. Like you have such a different appreciation when you go and see it. But I think over the course of our lives, like even the games that we work, the games that we went to as a fan, there's one or two that'll always just sort of like pop that just feel different. And I can't imagine I can't imagine better experiences than that.
It was phenomenal. As you said that, and I won't go much deeper into this, the 2010 NBA Finals, Game 7.
Okay.
In the house for that. It was at the top of the lower bowl. Just looking down, taking notes. Met Flea that night.
Oh, let's
phenomenal.
go.
I met Flea, baby. Come on. He mid fourth quarter, he had to probably hit the restroom. He literally sprinted up. VTB was there, and he introduced me to Flea, and Flea was nice enough to stop. Nice to meet you, and he went bam right back down to his seat.
Scar tissue, right? A little Count for Education. What else we got?
I mean,
there's got to be probably a bunch.
You got Higher Ground.
Oh God, yeah, bad job by me. I should have led with that one.
Yeah,
anyway,
the Chili Peppers, they got it going on. Okay. I've been waiting to ask you this. Again, we're still in the barbershop. Who's the greatest running back of all time?
Oh.
Can I give you a brief spiel?
Please, buy me some time because I'm debating it right now in my head.
So I believe it's Emmitt Smith, and it's based on resume. Okay, it's not based on talent. It's based on resume.
Okay.
So most people hit me with Barry Sanders, to which I say he's the most talented running back of all time, but he dipped out.
I have a third name for you.
And so my Mount Rushmore is Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, and Emmitt Smith. But I got Emmitt number one. And it's an extremely unpopular opinion. I bring it up on my Mad Dog Sports radio shows. Oh, the phone lines are lit. You're crazy. You're out of your mind. So there's the setup, my friend.
Okay, so all of those guys, you can make an argument. There's an argument for Emmitt, by the way, so I wouldn't fight you to the death on it. In fact, both Emmitt and Barry were on our show Super Bowl week.
Nice.
And so you go back and you're like prepping the interviews, you're seeing some of the footage, and it's like, oh my God, Barry can literally escape in a phone booth. Like, it was just remarkable. And then you just see the running style and then the literal accomplishments with the Super Bowls for Emmitt. Your entire list, Peyton, Jim, the whole thing, all there. My age comes into this a little bit because I don't, it's sort of like, hey, who's the greatest basketball player of all time? And, when we were working together, people were like, oh, Will, like, sure, maybe, but like, I didn't get to really watch some of this stuff. So, like the Jim Browns of the world, like sure, I get it, understand, I've seen the footage, the whole thing, understand the context and the social aspect that is really significant, which is a different conversation. Name that I would throw your way, LaDainian Tomlinson. He was a freaking video game. So I think he had the power at which we saw Emmitt run. I think, granted, no one's really Barry, but I think there was elements to LT's game that was like that. And then you just think about some of the individual records and the touchdowns that he was able to amass over the course of his career. He was unbelievable to me. So that's why I would go him.
Okay.
But I understand the reason for all the other guys.
I have not heard LT. I've heard him Mount Rushmore, but I've not heard him GOAT yet, so I love that answer.
And here's the other thing that I would say, and I'm also, look, there's bias here. When I got hired at NFL Network, they brought me in, and this is still sort of like the COVID era, and we had new studios next to SoFi Stadium, and I walk in and they say, hey, you can pick any locker that's empty. So you need to go into the wardrobe room and there's like all these lockers. I see Kurt Warner's name, the whole thing. And I look and I see LT, like Danian Thomas. I'm like, well, damn, how do I want the closest empty locker.
Nice.
To LT. So I took that one. Ended up being between Scott Hansen and Steve Mariucci. So Mooch is there, who, by the way, Mooch is salt of the earth. Like, I'll never forget those interactions, right? Like, new environment. There's a reason why certain coaches had success because they understand team building. And I remember Mooch, shaking my hand, like that vigorous shake and welcome to the team and the whole thing.
That's so cool.
Mooch's thing, but he was so welcoming and warm. And it's just kind of a reminder, too, of like, you see these guys, you see them execute on the field, you see their coaching or their playing accolades. And then when you get to know someone, you're like, oh my God, like you're actually like a great person.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
And LaDainian, by the way, is also a great person.
Yeah, he seems like a really cool guy.
Yes.
Does I like his work on NFL Network. He's 5 on my list.
Okay,
He's
all right.
and look, it's debatable that he should be 4 or higher. Like I'd feel better with the top 5 and draw the line there. But if you want to do a Mount Rushmore, I mean, the Selly going into the end zone and I mean, what a fantasy player!
Oh my God!
What a
Speaking of fantasy, how many leagues did you win because you had LaDainian Tomlinson on your team?
There was that time when you had Priest Holmes.
Totally.
You won the league.
Yep.
When you had Emmett, you won the league. When you had Sean Alexander there was like
that window,
little stretch right there, but he's also, I mean, LT won a lot of leagues. Dude. I mean, you got a guy 2,000 total yards, 19 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean that's 2 dudes. That's 2 dudes.
I know.
That's literally 2 guys. Okay, another spicy one for you. Still in the barbershop here, Mike.
If we're gonna go best athlete, I think I might have my answer to that one, but go for it.
Who is the best point guard of all time? Who is your GOAT of point guards?
Okay, so there's different ways to. I answer this question on how I would build a team because I think there's different ways that you can position this. So if you want to talk MVPs, high rate of scoring, doesn't miss free throws, 40% from 3, Steve Nash is on that list. I'm not saying Steve Nash would be my guy.
I understand.
But I
think he's
think
top 10 for sure.
1,000%. I think it's hard to argue because I think if you're a true point guard, there needs to be, like, the true definition is like an unselfish player who wants to see others succeed around them and put them in the best spot to do that. And that's why, to me, it's less about the offensive attack, which is it's hard to say now in today's game because of just these prolific scorers, especially at the one. But Stockton, to me, is like that's hard to go against what he was able to do because I think about his ability to be a facilitator, also be really annoying, didn't give up on the defensive side. That two-way aspect. So he's certainly, to me, I probably lean his way. I'm thinking about some other guys. Like, I loved watching Gary Payton, like, chomp on that gum, talk some smack. Like, those Sonics teams were unbelievable.
Yes, they were.
And I loved guys that would get after you on the defensive side, and he'd never back down from a challenge. So, like, GP would be on that list. I'm, like, name-checking some other guys. But your ability to set up other people, by far, is the most important thing about that position. So that's why I would probably lean with Stockton.
I love your rationales. Mine is completely resume-based.
Okay.
I strip all... most context, maybe not all context, but it's not about, for me, and so for you've got your vision on sports, and they've got to fit within that prism, which I think is really, really cool. I'm more, it's just straight black and white.
What did you do?
On basketballreference.com and profootballreference.com, and that's just work for me. It has created unpopular opinions, like Emmitt Smith is the GOAT.
Sure.
Most people don't think he's the GOAT, which is kind of wild to me. Great answer, though. Last question.
No, but who's your guy? I got to know.
It's Magic Johnson.
Okay. Fair.
And Curry's number 2. And again, resume-based, right?
Sure.
Stockton has no rings.
Sure.
So that's why, Oscar's in my Mount Rushmore and Isaiah Thomas is in my Mount Rushmore. They each have 2 rings. So that's big for me.
So, and this goes back to what I was saying, like with Steph, like he's transformed the game. So there's definitely an argument there. I think of him as a guard and not a point guard.
Understood.
If that
and
makes
that's
sense.
totally fair because Draymond is probably more their PG.
Totally. There was a time, I remember getting into this argument, and I'm like embarrassed to admit this now, with Casey Jacobson, and we talked about who's a better player. And at that time, Steph wasn't Steph. He was getting there. And it was Allen Iverson or Steph Curry. And I was like, bro, it's AI. Like, what are we talking about? Like, there's not much of a debate here. Like, think about how Steph transformed the game. You saw it. Iverson did the same exact thing for the NBA. Like, just the way we perceive players, style of play, the and one, the crossover, the whole thing, creating contact at his size, just the amount of abuse that he took when he was finishing at the rim. Like he literally carried a team to the finals and got one win against the Lakers. They won game one and then
The
they lost
dynasty
next
Lakers.
Yeah, so, and it, now I obviously would answer very differently. I would say Steph, but the point is, like, it's amazing what a career in its totality. And by the way, I don't even think Steph, he's not in his prime, but I don't think he's like that far off of his prime.
Most definitely not.
He's remarkable. It's pretty crazy at his stature to be able to consistently do what he does. It's awesome.
For a guy his size to win 4 championships, because that was the whole thing. You can't win with him, and you'll never win with him, and that was totally the narrative about him. And I love that he's got 4, and he won't win a 5th with the team he's on right now. To me, he needs to ask for a trade.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
he can't.
I understand that he probably can't, but I would.
Or he won't, is what I should say.
So the end of Kobe's career, right, was pretty empty. I call it, he was a roller coaster at an amusement park.
Sure.
He was just a cash cow. That's all he was. The Lakers stunk. They were either mediocre or really bad.
Totally.
And so there was nothing at stake for the end of Kobe's career. Other than stats and counting numbers, is he going to play tonight?
No.
And obviously box office and selling popcorn out there at Staples. And I don't mean to be like cynical about it. I'm a huge Kobe guy, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't like that he went out that way. And Steph is literally going out the same exact
100%.
way. So it's selfish. I just want Steph to kind of be like, yo, I need one for the thumb, which is huge, because if he gets 5, he matches Magic, and you know what? He passes Magic. He's already passed Magic for a lot of people. I'm not ready to go there. Magic has more MVPs, more rings. He doesn't have the numbers that Steph does, and we understand why. But yeah, still got Magic.
Yeah.
Last barbershop question.
Okay.
Is LeBron James your GOAT?
No. I'm old enough to know better.
Thank you.
Like, no. By the way, and it's not to say that he is not in the conversation for it. I have one of my really good friends would say this to me. He's like, your favorite player when you were 12 or the best player when you were 12 will never be topped. And I think that's accurate. And
in baseball, that's true. Kirby Puckett.
There you go.
Will never be topped for me.
Hey, to each his own.
So I can completely relate
you know
to
what I
that.
mean?
Yes,
so
yes,
like
yes.
I grew up in the 90s with Jordan. I'm pre-programmed. I'm not allowed to say anyone but Jordan. And by the way, I wouldn't say anyone but Jordan.
Right.
There is something to be said, though, for what LeBron has been able to accomplish. It is nothing short of phenomenal. He is, I think, at this point in his career, and this is a few years ago, I would have made this argument, he has now gotten into the conversation. I understand why a younger fan would say LeBron's the GOAT. There are some things that he does that, candidly, Jordan wasn't doing. Longevity, the physical presence that he has on the floor, like that's different.
He didn't retire 3 times.
Didn't retire 3 times. There's something different about what LeBron has been able to accomplish. I would not have him in front of Jordan, but I think the better question is, do you take LeBron or Kobe? Because to me, it's LeBron. And in this city where I currently reside, like I wouldn't say that outside for people to hear, because they talk about Kobe differently, and I just don't.
Yes, they do.
I take LeBron over Kobe.
So I've got it stacked. 1 is Jordan, 2 is Kareem. And again, this is all resume.
Sure.
And no college. It's all NBA. So Kareem's the greatest college player of all time.
Yeah.
And none of that matters for this. So number 1 is Jordan. Number 2 is Kareem. By the way, Kareem, 6 rings, 6 MVPs.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
LeBron is 3. Magic is 4. Kobe's 5. Duncan 6. Curry 7, Shaq 8, Wilt 9, and Russell 10. So Bird got booted when Curry won his 4th.
Okay, so I paused because you started going through some of those bigs, and the way you did it, I get it. I'm just going to say it. Olajuwon to me is...
He's probably 11 or 12.
So
he's just off the list.
So when we start talking about team building, like... I want him on my team. Because, like, when we were watching and we were kind of like in our heyday when we were at NBA TV.
Huge Hakeem Olajuwon.
100%. And look, Shaq is the most dominant player he's the most dominant player of his generation. And Dream just did it different. he's poetry, man. Like that, there's a reason why guys like Kobe, when they were still playing, like would go and contact Elijah Wan to come and work on the post game. You think about Robinson's MVP season and look at what Dream did in that postseason, making probably maybe not the greatest, on the short list of one or two, the greatest errors of the big men, and which was the 90s, and Dream made them look like they were on the freshman team and he was varsity. I mean, it was, so that's why when I paused, because you started going through all those bigs, I'm like, oh, where's Dream? Where's Dream? And I'm like, oh, damn, we got to 10 and there's no Dream.
Yeah, so, he's just off.
Yeah.
Durant is just off.
Oh, yeah,
And so rings are huge, obviously.
Yeah,
Shaq's got 4, Curry's got 4, Kobe and Duncan have 5. Wilt's got 2, Russell has 11.
Sure.
And so that's, like I said, I'm very resume based. Let's go back to Fordham. I've got 2 more questions for you, Mike Yam. Let's go back to Fordham and do a little sports media, sports journalism 101.
Okay.
What are the primary differences between new media and old media?
Oh my God. I feel like I'm buried in old media because that's what, although no, maybe I'm in the transition. How about we just say like old school, current, and then maybe new school that's coming up here.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
like, I mean, think about it. When we were, your classes when you were in school, probably pretty similar to mine. Print media, literally like newspapers, which don't really, I mean, I know they exist, but people aren't consuming their content that way. The traditional broadcast path, whether it was radio or TV. And I think new media now, platforms like this, YouTube, individual content creators that become their own platforms, I think is how I would describe new media. I'm probably in the older media because it's, look, NFL Network, CW, which is true linear television, and NBA TV. So like I've relied my entire career, SiriusXM, Pac-12, like on that medium.
Yep.
But it's not to say, like, some of my work at NFL Network has been on like fast channels, for example, like the NFL Fast Channel. Like I do the pregame show for them, Power Rankings, which is one of our weekly shows that we do. So understanding like the differences in the nuance there is there is definitely lines.
Great answer. I also want to know, maybe I'll ask 3. This is a quick one. Are you a teleprompter guy?
No.
Are you a notes guy where you've got notes and you kind of look down and little reference points, or are you just an ad-libber?
I classify myself as an ad-libber, but that was something that I got to. So think about the path here. So like when we're talking about new media, so whenever I talk to college students, it's like one of my favorite things to do. It's a reminder of like, oh my God, I'm pretty damn fortunate because like I remember being in that seat and going, will I ever make it? Will I ever get an opportunity? So it's a nice, point is I love doing it, but I always tell them, hey, if you can do radio, you can do TV.
100%.
If you do TV, doesn't mean you can do radio.
I completely agree.
And I think I was very fortunate that my initial opportunities came on the radio side. So I was working for ESPN radio. I was doing a ton for SiriusXM, whether it was NBA radio or their all sports channel at that point. And it got me to the point where I didn't necessarily need the teleprompter, like being able to understand transitions, how to have a conversation with someone, all really valuable, especially when you get into the host chair on the TV side. You know this, you've been doing it your entire career. I think when I got to ESPN, if you do Sports Center, for example, like a lot of that is scripted. Like clearly you get it, I shouldn't say clearly because people who aren't in the business don't know, but like when you're doing a game highlight, you get a shot sheet and like your shot sheet's got the situation, it's got a little bit of a description of the play and then that end result. And I remember when I did my audition, first time I had auditioned at NBA, any TV audition, it was at NBA TV, and they gave me a shot sheet, and I had never seen a shot sheet before. But I did play-by-play when I was at Fordham, so I kind of just called it. I didn't know what else to do. And then I got to ESPN, and then I realized, like, well, I don't want to be a shot sheet reader. Like, I don't need a 22-year-old PA who's written out the shot sheet to read his words or her words. Like, I'm going to see the video. And by the way, if I trust the video, because that's what you're seeing at home, that's the only thing that matters.
Talk to the pictures.
This sheet, it might be wrong. Because, by the way, that happens.
They pulled a highlight out. They didn't pull it off of the shot sheet.
Totally.
So now you're calling a Jim Jackson basket, and it's a Thurl Bailey basket. And those are just a couple of names.
No, but like that's the thing. So and to me,
and now you look bad.
100%. Because you're the one who's actually saying the wrong name. So, but there are certain shows where, like, if you're doing an on-cam lead, to a big feature, like some of that stuff is scripted at a lot of different networks. I've been really, really lucky because at NFL Network, and certainly at Pac-12, like we just went. So you just know your stuff and you should be able to go. It's like Tarico told you, it's not surgery, right? Like we're not physicians trying to like cut open a body. It's sports. We're fans. We followed these teams. Like we should be able to converse about it. And I think from a host perspective, truly, like the experiences of the guys that I've worked with, whether they're coaches or players, my job is to make sure that the stuff that they're seeing is what gets out there. How many times have you been in a room with a guy who played and go, oh my God, and they say something. It's like a throwaway line.
Yeah.
And I go, oh my God, I've never thought about that.
Exactly.
They have so much knowledge, like this institutional knowledge that they take for granted. So I always felt like, hey, from a host job, like I just need to get out of the way. A little less of me, a lot more of you. I listen while we're watching the games because I want to hear what those observations are.
Exactly.
I bookmark them in my brain. Once we get out there, it's my job just to kind of make sure that we get to those points again.
I love what you said about it's not about Maria Taylor, Taylor Rooks, James Brown, Mike Yam, Rick Kamla, Vince Cellini, Matt Weiner. It's not about us.
Yeah.
It's not. We are there to orchestrate, traffic cop, be smooth, and it's about the ball players. It's about Shaq, Steve Smith, Dennis Scott, LaDainian Tomlinson. And I'm completely fine with that, okay? Because we are in the game. And in a big way, and so I've always looked at it that way. It's not about my happiness. It's not about any of that. It's about, and I think it's very important. And I see a lot of anchors don't do this. Yeah. And some NBA TV anchors over the years did not do this, and it was just so cringy. And I'm not going to name names, obviously, but I was always very direct. If I was working with, say, Brendan Haywood, Dennis Scott, and Steve Smith. Okay, so you can't over a highlight, and I like to work them into the highlight and not just, do the play-by-play, and you can't just leave them behind. And I've seen guys and girls do that. Yeah. A 2.5-minute highlight, you don't go to the analyst one time. What are you doing? So it's just the wrong thing. Yeah. But I'd be like, and so there'd be like maybe a big man highlight coming up. Some guy, Zach Randolph had a double-double or whatever. I'd be like, B-Wood, Zach Randolph was balling tonight.
100%.
And so he gives a quick little, and he didn't, they understand the windows. He didn't take too long, and Smitty would come on. I'd be like, Smitty, I know you like how feisty this guy is, and get him to, so just all that kind of stuff. And then, boom.
Yeah, lean into their expertise.
It completely elevates the broadcast. Yeah. But guess what? It engages them. Yeah. It makes them happy. They want reps. They want to talk. And they're not like Mike Hoggs. But they're ball players, and they're and they got a lot to say. So don't sort of, like you said, less of me, more of them. I thought that was a great point. One more question for you. Again, we're back at Fordham, Journalism 101. Give the young dudes and ladies out there who are in college right now. They're in their bedroom at 15, turning the TV down and doing play-by-play. Like we did back in the day. Give them to get where we are. Give them one do and one don't.
Oh my God. Just one. All right.
It can be multiple, but I don't want to overload you,
For
Mike.
sure. So a couple things. One, reps matter. Like the practice is invaluable. Like when I think back to my time at NBA TV and that reel that was used to get the ESPN job, I remember unpacking a box after a year of being at ESPN. And at that point, I'm doing 3 hours of live television 5 days a week. You can't get worse. Like, you trust me, I don't know how good I was, but I wasn't getting worse with that amount of inventory. I remember throwing the DVD into my DVD player, watching my reel from NBA TV, and thinking to myself, how the hell did I get hired? So I say, number one, the reps are really important. And nowadays, the ability to be your own content creator and fire up your phone and like just hear how you sound, read out loud, listen, all of those things are super valuable. But I think the biggest thing, and look, I think all of us have faced challenges in our career. I don't know one person in life that had a career path that was like this, straight line up. That doesn't exist. It's always going to be rocky. Things are going to happen. The sense of resiliency that you need to have in a competitive business is really important. But I'm convinced that if you have a natural inquisitiveness about how you operate, take a genuine interest in people, and how they feel when they're around you, I think is so valuable, because in those moments, how much harder will a PA work on the shows that when you're on with them, for example, I want them to know, like, hey, like I actually, like I'm into like what are your genuine interests? Like, what are you into outside of this place? Yep. Getting to know people is a really valuable thing. So I would say like how you leave people when you're with them and how they feel when they're around you is by far the most important thing that's going to help you in this career. And say yes. Like I think the biggest don't would be to think that you are bigger than the opportunity that is right in front of you. And sometimes looking past that is, I think, a little bit of a detriment.
My do is, you got to be a yes man. You got to be a yes lady.
Yeah, you say
the
yes.
answer is yes.
Yeah.
We want you to work, the overnight shift, terrible hours. We want you to do a morning show on the radio at 6 a.m. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Even though it's going to completely turn your life inside out. And I worked a morning show while working at NBA TV till 3 a.m.
Wow.
6 a.m. radio show on a big stick in Atlanta. Blessed opportunity. But you say yes. How did I make that work? Chasing money, yo. That's how I made it work. The don't, I maybe have a couple. Don't piss off the crew.
That's
if
fair.
you lose the crew, you're most likely going to lose your job.
Yeah.
Okay. And you may think, well, and I hold all of these people in super high esteem. Producers, stage managers, camera operators, the sound guy, they're all geniuses and brilliant. That's why they have their jobs. You can't treat them like you're on TV and they're not. And I've seen tons of anchors do that. Ball players don't do that. Ball players are cool and chill. They want to get to know you. But it's been dudes in our chair who have gotten a little high and mighty.
Who didn't accomplish what the players did. It's a great observation.
So, and I have seen them kind of complain. Don't complain on the set ever about anything. But if the camera wasn't in the right spot, boom, you've lost the crew. Or, why wasn't prompter rolling right there? Boom, you just lost the crew.
Don't use prompter.
All it takes is one comment, and guess what? They all have lunch together. They have dinner together. When there's tons of downtime in TV, they're in the studio talking together. Okay, so they're all friends. So if you tick off one of them, it's going to spread like poison. And in terms of dealing with bosses, never try to go over a boss's head. You think that's so common sense, and like early days of NBA TV, and actually the departure of this human helped me. Because I was going from fantasy and kind of getting anchor reps and all that kind of stuff. And Spiroditas took a big play-by-play job. So that was huge. And shout out to Spiroditas. Love that guy.
The best.
But him going national as a play-by-play guy was huge for me.
Totally.
I just kind of went right into a lot of his stuff. But this other guy, who also was one of their main anchors when I first got there, and I won't say the name, but if you can probably do some investigation and find it. But he wasn't getting what he wanted, and he went over his boss's head, and they let him go.
Wow.
It was like
I don't even
that.
know who this is. Okay.
I'll tell you when we're off the air.
Yeah.
But don't. So those are some do's and don'ts. And Mike.
Yeah.
I wish we had a studio audience to give you a huge round of applause.
It's so good to see you,
This has been phenomenal. I'm so happy for your success. I'm so proud of you, man.
I appreciate you.
We've known each other a long time. We've had wins, we've had losses, and after all these years, we come together in LA.
Awesome.
And this has been absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man.
Man, I appreciate the invite, dude. It's awesome to see you in person. I was so excited when you shot me a text. You're like, can you come by? I'm like, let's make this work. So it's awesome to be with you, man. I appreciate it.
Continued success, my friend.
You too.
The great Mike Yam, ladies and gentlemen.